Hi, I'm Shaunak, and I would put my parents accepting my life choices into my immigrant jam.
That in just 1 second. First, I have to welcome you all back to Immigrant Jam, the podcast, or as they say in French, le podcast. I'm so happy you're back. How are you? How are you feeling? Is everybody okay? Are you feeling okay? Have you done the self-care thing? Today is Thursday. Full disclosure, it is Thursday, 2 days later. And we'll get into all of that. But thank you so much for being here. Check out the Patreon, patreon.com/Lucy Pohl, where there are some extras. There's a community, a jamily, so to speak, a family of jamily of Immigrant Jam people. And this is Immigrant Jam. Yes, a podcast celebrating everything immigrant, one immigrant at a time. We need this so much right now. And today I am so excited to welcome one of the funniest men to ever have roamed this planet. It's true. He's funny. He's gentle. He's kind. He's amazing. I heard from a little birdie he also does improv. No one's perfect. Please welcome the amazing Shauna Godkhindi.
Thank you for having me, Lucy.
Hello.
Hi.
And how are you feeling, Shaunak?
I'm doing good. It's been a sunny day. It's terrifyingly warm out in November.
It is so nice out.
I know.
It's like as if the world is mocking us.
I know. It does feel... It's scary because you walk around and I'm having such a nice time just looking at pigeons in a puddle and kids holding balloons, and then I go, it shouldn't be like this right
Yes, it's so true. And people, I don't know if this is happening to you, but I have a lot of friends in Germany and other places because I'm German, and I've been getting a lot of phone calls.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, are you okay? What's going on? And I'm like, I'm great.
Yeah.
It's so warm.
It's so
I'm
warm.
so happy. There's so many birds in my backyard. You don't even understand.
Warm in November feels like when you're eating ice cream after midnight. You know, you're like, this tastes so good, but this is going to be a problem tomorrow. For future me, this is an issue.
Right.
But right now, I'm enjoying myself.
yes. Or maybe it is the planet's way of saying, here.
Yeah.
Have
Here's
your
a nice
last
week.
hurrah.
Have a nice last week before they send you to camps.
Oh my God.
Enjoy it.
When I got here, the doorman was like, oh, hey, Miss Lisa. He always calls me Lisa. I never correct him.
Yeah.
And I go, hey. And then he said, woo, you're about to have a lot more material, huh? And I'm always like... I don't think so.
Yeah, it's going to
so
be hard to do the jokes when we're in the salt mines. We're going to be the funniest people with pickaxes.
Exactly. I think Irene too tweeted or put on Facebook today. She was like, what did you do in World War II? Stand-up comedy. You know? Oh, my God. Shaunak, you said you would put in your immigrant jam your parents accepting your life choices. Is that a deep cry for help?
No, it's actually not. I just tried to think of the funniest thing I could say. My parents are actually way more chill with my life choices now.
Where are your parents from?
We're all from India. They're from...
we're all from India. Today, we're all from India.
Today, we're all from India, if you're listening to this.
Yeah, if you're listening, you are also now from India.
Yeah. Welcome.
There you go. It should be like that, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like we should go into the space of nation fluidity. We have gender fluidity. Let's go into nationality fluidity.
You know, that's what you...
Is that just cultural appropriation?
No, I think that there's a way to do that nicely, though. I think I've never been to Europe, but I feel like there's a sense of that in Europe. People just kind of go from Spain to France and France.
No, but not traveling wise. I feel like you should be able to say, I identify as Indian.
I guess maybe, if we ever get to like leaving Earth, then it'll be less intense, right? Because then we'll just be, I'm from Earth.
I love that idea.
That's probably when we get to that point, because I bet because we get pretty entrenched in like, I'm from Georgia, I'm from Jersey. But then if you leave, you're not from Georgia or New Jersey. You go, I'm from America.
I'm an asshole.
Yeah, I'm a loud farting asshole.
I wear flip-flops. I'm a man.
At the Vatican. I wear flip-flops.
I wear flip-flops at the Vatican and take a picture of me doing the Satan
with the camera flash noise on.
And then 4 hours later, I'm crying in a corner going, does anybody speak English here?
And the people that do are ignoring you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and that's a cool thing, because now if I were to travel to Europe, I would look Indian, but all my mannerisms and the way I conduct myself would be so American that they would probably go, that guy's American.
Yeah.
That's, I think, what you're talking about, the national...
Or that just think you're Turkish.
Yeah. Brown guy's being pretty loud. I think brown, loud, Turkish.
Okay, so you were born in India?
Yeah, I was born in India.
Where?
Pune, Maharashtra.
Oh.
Yeah. Beautiful city.
God, been there so many times. No, never been there. Beautiful city?
Really pretty.
How old were you when you moved here?
Immigrated here when I was 7.
Ah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
2001.
Wow.
With my family, and we came
to Georgia?
We moved to Chicago, outside Chicago, and then lived there, and then moved to Georgia when I was in high school.
So you have vivid memories of arriving here.
Oh, totally, yeah.
But I remember you spoke English.
So we lived in Kuwait, right? For a little while. In Kuwait and India, the schools are English speaking.
Right.
Because the British were in India forever, and then in Kuwait, I think the schools were English speaking because they wanted to train you to go get a job somewhere.
But also Kuwait, you lived in Kuwait City, I'm guessing, right? That's like
Kuwait's
American
tiny,
made.
Yeah, basically. Kuwait, I think, was similar to Dubai, gave a lot of tax breaks to people.
Yeah.
And they had so much oil there that there was a lot of international business. So everyone spoke English. There's a huge Indian and Filipino population.
Yeah, I've been to Kuwait. When you fly in, it's just like a city and then desert.
Exactly.
And I remember driving through Kuwait City, and there's an Applebee's, and it says Applebee's, the neighborhood restaurant. And you're like, the neighborhood in the desert? It's so funny.
Totally.
And also, I would say, super ignorantly to people like, oh, I want to eat like the Kuwaiti food, and they'd be like, okay, go to the
Burger
desert and find a
guy
Berber basically or whatever, right? And ask him to dig a hole in the sand. That's the Kuwaiti cuisine. But otherwise, it was so funny. When we arrived there, they were like, oh, we'll take you around, show you the best food, and they literally took us to a Japanese curry place. We were like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
All my memories of Kuwait, and I have fond memories of it, but it was all like McDonald's and going to Burger King.
They have Arby's.
Oh, yeah, they have
Applebee's, yeah.
It's totally very, like you said, American made, in that there's all these... You have a good... It almost like if you didn't recognize the Arabic lettering, you'd be like, am I in Detroit right now?
Exactly.
or in Sedona, Arizona? Yeah.
But when I was in Kuwait, I also met a lot of Indian people, and they told me that they're super segregated there. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. The Kuwaiti people that live there, it's just like here, it's just money separates you, but the Kuwaiti people have more money because they got tax breaks and oil and stuff. Yeah. And a lot of people have lived there for generations, so they go, oh, you brown, you're a different brown. We're beige.
Crazy, huh?
And there's segregation. Just like in Dubai, I think.
Right.
Because the people that build everything are from Malaysia and India and Pakistan.
Right.
It's crazy.
And so you were in Kuwait, and then you came to Chicago.
Yeah.
Did you want to move as a kid? Were you excited, or were you...
I was excited. I didn't like Kuwait. They would hit you in school and stuff.
Oh my God, what?
I know. Yeah, they didn't really care. They're pretty liberal with the backhand over there. And India I loved because it was just my grandparents' house, but I never lived there for a super long time. And then I was excited because in my mind, America was where Spider-Man lived.
Right. Right, of course.
So I was like, wow, I want to go there. And all of my cultural experiences with America were already so fun. It was Happy Meals and television. So I was like, I want to go. And we came, and Chicago's really pretty, and we lived in this apartment building in the middle of the suburbs, and yeah, I really liked it. I just remember coming here and feeling like the schools were not threatening, and there were more kids playing outside because it was not 150 degrees.
Right, that's the thing in Kuwait. I was like,
you can't leave the house for
you can't
hours.
be outside. And when I got there, I was like, oh my God, where are all the people? Until I understood nobody's outside because
people come out at night, but
yes,
you know, if you're a kid, you're not going out.
Yes,
so you're like, I was just excited to move here, and then our apartment building was like a circular, like a square shape, like one this way, one this way, and kids would just play in the middle. And I was like, that's so cool. Kids are outside.
That's so amazing. But my sister went on this rant yesterday about like how Americans are so spoiled.
Yeah.
She's like, now they're going to see what it's going to be like, and they're so spoiled, and that's why they elected him, because everybody's spoiled. So I guess I'm just saying it is kind of a matter of perspective, right? If you come from a place where you get hit in school and you can't go outside because you'll die of a heat stroke.
Yeah.
America
is exciting.
It's kind of nice.
Oh, totally. I remember like we went to my first grade classroom that I would be going to in America, like a Friday after class had let out, and the teacher she was so sweet. I still remember Miss Hartzant. She like let me see the class and everything, and I was like, wow, they have like toys for us to play with and crayons and stuff. In Kuwait, there was like a cement classroom, and the lady would hit you, and I was like,
and a guillotine.
Yeah, a guillotine. The class pet was a dog that bit. So I was just like, oh my God, they have bean bags. I've never seen a bean bag except for on Disney Channel.
Is it so funny how as an immigrant kid there are these like little things that like just stick in your mind as these like sort of like pot of gold at the end of a rainbow type of thing, like Lunchables for me.
Yeah, wow. So you had seen Lunchables and then you came here and you got
I'd never seen Lunchables, but
you just saw kids having them.
Yes, I was like, what is that?
Totally.
Oh my God. And the spray cheese.
Yep.
And then I was obsessed with those like plastic pacifiers.
Yeah.
Do you remember those?
The candy ones?
Well, no. Actually, it's funny because they were started. That's from the 90s by ravers who were like on ecstasy.
Oh, they needed something to have in the mouth?
Pacifiers. But then kids kind of got into it, and I collected them, and I had this big necklace, and I felt so American and cool.
Whoa.
And like baseball caps too.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I remember my first baseball cap.
I
got one with no, it was one of those with the metal plate,
what?
On it.
You're describing like
New
a
York.
dystopian outfit. Metal baseball cap pacifier necklace. You're like reading a Mad Libs.
And the little thing in your ear
that gave you oxygen levels.
If you press it, your eyes roll up and you go into the other dimension. Hello.
And a watch that transported you into the space station.
There was a guy in my neighborhood that always stood on the corner with a huge backpack staring straight ahead, and he would yell, "There are cyborgs among us.
Whoa.
There are people. They are not people." And then one day my friend went up to him when we were teenagers and he went, "Yo, man, you're the fucking cyborg."
What?
We never saw him again.
Your friend? Oh no! The guy left after that.
Much funnier if we never saw. And then my friend turned into dust.
And my friend turned into a robot. Flew into space.
We never saw Max. Please send us a signal.
The lights start flickering.
Exactly.
That's crazy. So yeah, there were all these things that you were like, wow, that is so American.
I mean, you grew up speaking English, but also like I think a lot of kids that don't grow up speaking English because of all the influence of the movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We all like would practice English. Like we'd be like, "I remember now, McDonald's number.
Wow. I think I heard this person on the train on the way over here. I didn't realize they were just practicing English. I should have.
They're practicing English.
I should have helped them. Yeah, I feel like I remember even like going to school and like, you know, doing an American accent because I had learned how to do one just from speaking or listening to TV.
Yeah, your
watching
accent
TV.
is flawless.
Yeah, and at a time, there was a time where I was putting it on because I wanted to fit in. And I could just do it because I just endlessly watched TV and my parents didn't give a shit. I just literally watched TV all the time as a kid. And so I was like able to do it. And then I came home and I was talking like that. My mom was like, what are you doing?
You're like, howdy, mama.
Hi, mama.
Over there?
Just talking like Johnny Bravo. Hey there, mama.
Howdy, mama Ruger. How you doing, my little mama? She's like,
Can I get some orange juice? She's like, why are you talking like a Southern belle?
Did you have weird lunches?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, looking back, I was like, why was I being such a prick about it? It was my favorite foods. But my mom was sending it with me with Indian food, and kids would be like, what the hell is that?
People would do that.
Of course, because Indian food is a very dominant atmospheric food.
I love that dominant atmospheric food.
Because if I was from the Netherlands, I'd just be bringing like, I don't know,
cheese and bread.
And people were like, okay. But I was bringing stuff that was like taking over the vibe. And sometimes you would be, you know.
Again, we're all Indian now.
Yeah, we're all Indian now. You're on my lunch table.
You're all Indian now.
You know what I remember feeling the most left out of is trading at the lunch table. I feel like
people traded?
Oh, yeah.
What? I grew up in New York City. No motherfuckers traded nothing here.
Why?
No.
Because you guys were doing school lunch? Like the lunch
No. People brought lunches, but nobody traded. I mean, I don't know. They didn't offer me anything. But I did have the European parents.
I see.
Who gave me like seeds. What were you trading?
I don't know. People would just have like like the mini Pringles. Like, I'll trade you mini Pringles for a Capri Sun, or
wow, mini Pringles.
You know, like I'll eat half of my pudding cup. You take the second half for a handful of goldfish. It was like the New York Stock Exchange, and then I would be there with like spiced potato cutlets and be like, does anyone want these? And be like, no, we don't know what the hell that shape is.
That naan didn't go for top dollar.
That's true. Good
nobody
point.
knew about naan, bro.
Naan is fine.
Naan was new back then.
See, yogurt and naan.
People would have. Now, if I had that, it would be top dollar item. But I was pulling up with, weird stuff that people didn't understand.
So, were you sad about that? Did you go home and were you like, Mom, can I just have meatloaf?
I definitely. Mom,
please.
Just get a box of ketchup. These kids don't know what I'm bringing. Yeah, I remember having a conversation with my mom being like, I think people think I'm weird because of the lunch. And she was like, okay.
She's like, honey, it's not the lunch. It's you.
Yeah, it's your bowl cut and the fact that you have a mustache. Because you look like Lord Farquaad.
Did you have a mustache in school?
I mean, I was a hairy kid. Well, I probably had a mustache starting 5th grade, like a thin.
5th grade? Wow, that's wild. That's early. I had a mustache too.
Less cool.
Yeah, exactly. But yet a little more edgy.
A little more edgy.
Ahead of my time.
Non-binary with metal baseball cap, pacifier necklace, and a mustache. Whoa, you look like a Mexican teen at the carnival.
That's why I'm saying nation fluidity. Nobody believed me I was German.
Yeah, nobody knew you were German. Just that you were a kid from El Salvador. I think that kid named Ramon is a cyborg. That's so funny.
Oh my God, that's so funny. And then, were you always the class clown?
No, I was pretty quiet until like middle school, and then I just remember like that's when like group discussions happen in class. You know, like in 5th, 6th, like in elementary school, you weren't having like class-wide discussions. You know. But I remember in 6th grade, I had this English teacher that was like, that was her whole thing. She was like, we'd read a book and then we'd talk about it for a while and then write a paper on it. And I remember in those discussions, I was just being myself and people were loving that. And I was like, oh, I'm going to play this up. And then I would talk a lot in class. And my teacher liked it because nobody wanted to talk. Right. And that's when I kind of, found out that being funny is people like that.
Did you become a comedian right after school? Did you go and study to please your parents?
I started doing comedy in college. I had gotten arrested for doing graffiti.
Oh.
And I was super depressed and really...
What was your tag?
My friends and I would put a squid up everywhere.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was fun. It
I
was
like that.
really stupid, and then we stupidly got caught. But that was like a very small, minor thing that the university was like, stop. And then I was just kind of really depressed.
Wait, they kicked you out?
No. They reprimanded us with community service in the university. It wasn't a huge deal looking back, but I was like really devastated, as any kid would be. And then I just wasn't going to class or anything. And I was telling a friend of mine that I wanted to do stand-up, and then she was like, you should just do it. There's some in this area.
But getting arrested as an immigrant kid is also much worse.
Yes, I thought it was all over.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I grew up with my parents saying, you can do whatever you want. We don't care, but do not get arrested.
Yeah,
we're going to get deported. We're going to get deported. We're going to get deported.
Right.
And I remember when I was like 16, my friends and I were bored one night waiting for the time where it's cool to show up at a party and not knowing what to do with ourselves before, you know?
Yeah.
And so it was February, and then we went on her balcony and like dumped buckets of water on people.
What?
And one
That's
of the
so
buckets actually like landed on, like the first bucket was like in front of the people and they were like, ah, and we were like, ha ha. And then the second was like behind them. And then the third one actually hit like a family. So bad. It's horrible. That we're like in town from New Jersey, like to see a Broadway play or something like that.
Oh my God.
And we like drenched them and they called the cops.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get deported. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Because you dumped a bucket of water?
And also such a dumb thing to do.
I know, like
and
Charlie
I was like,
Chaplin prank that you get deported for.
Yes, exactly.
We hereby deport Lizzie Poe for tomfoolery. Your shenanigans have cost us our citizenship. I hope you're happy, Lizzie.
Exactly. I just lost it. I started crying. I was like, I can't get deported. I was like, hide. I'm going to hide.
Sure,
hide
I
me.
would freak out.
And my friends were like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what?
I'm now Anne Frank. I need to live in your attic.
Yes, exactly.
You're harboring a criminal. Me.
But it's so different as an immigrant kid.
Yeah, I remember being like really scared about that, and it was genuinely a terrifying time. And it's also just like, you know, I didn't know what I wanted to do in college. My grades weren't incredible, and I never like had a path. All my friends were like going to med school, and they kind of had it all laid out for them, or like going to business school. They knew what they were going to do. I didn't know what I was going to do, and stand-up kind of came into my life at the like end of college, so it kind of helped me make a community and you know, do the thing I was good at, which is being silly.
And did you have to do other jobs along the way?
I still do like graphic design and stuff, but that's all stuff I taught myself. I'm a pretty good visual artist, and for a long time I thought I was going to try and go into that world, which is super hard, and not like stand-up is easy, but
yeah, right.
My parents were like, you shouldn't do that. And so graphic design felt like
So they were more supportive of the stand-up than of the graphic design?
No, they were pretty supportive of me doing design because I could get a job.
They're like, we've seen your drawings. Don't do that.
Maybe stick to being a weird guy. But there was a time where I was doing stand-up without their knowledge, kind of, and then eventually I got on a show that I thought was a good show in Atlanta, and I asked them to come, and then that went really well. And since then, they've been really supportive. It's also like, you know, I'm working really hard at it because I feel an obligation to make good on their sacrifice. But then I also feel silly being like, and also don't show up.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yes.
So yeah, you do. It is this conflicting thing where I'm like, I do want you to come see why I'm out all the time, and you know why I moved here, but also I don't want you to see these other people.
Yes, exactly. But that's a very typical immigrant thing, right? Wanting to make good on the sacrifice and having kind of like a little bit of this guilt of, you know, having to make something of yourself.
Of course. And I think that, you know, my parents were pretty, because they never took their parents' advice of how to, you know, what to do with academics or anything. They were pretty similar to your parents, like forged their own path. And now my dad does software stuff, and my mom is an incredible cook and stuff, but they were pushed initially into other fields And so they never put immense pressure on me to go into a certain thing. They just wanted me to do something and be good at it. But I do feel like if I'm picking this, I do need to make good on the sacrifice of them coming here and putting me in a position to do so.
Right.
And I think that's a universal feeling. I've talked to Mexican guys that moved here recently, and I've talked to people that are second generation that are still like, I still got to make it work.
Yes.
I think that's why you hear of the notion that immigrants work really hard. It's like, I don't think that we're like inherently love working. It's just because we have our mom being like, hey, pick it up.
Yes. And like you said, when you got here, it's not that like immigrants, one of the traits that immigrants are born with is that they love working hard, but you have to be resourceful.
You do have to be resourceful.
And you have to hustle and you have to make it work. And I think that, maybe there is something about like that immigrants share this drive. Yeah. Right? To not settle for something or to like seek
Yes. I think that there's, I think what happens is you have, if you're pursuing something or even just like pursuing money enough to pay your rent, you have like that as your engine, but then you also have like this other gear which you can find that is your family's relying on you or your parents or whoever that brought you here did so for a reason for you to flourish. So you do have some sort of pressure to go, let me like make sure that was not in vain.
But also on the flip side of that as well, you have a blueprint of how like you look at your parents and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Especially the older you get, you're like, holy fuck, they were like my age.
Right.
When they just picked up and moved to another country where they didn't speak the language, didn't know anybody, and they had kids. I freak out if I have to move to another borough.
Totally.
By myself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my God, what the fuck? And so that's also gives you strength and inspiration, but gives you kind of a map of
you can go, I can do that.
Yeah.
And I was having this conversation with a buddy of mine, another brown comic, Ali, who's fantastic.
Sultan?
No, Ali Sultan is awesome. Ali Hader, he's great.
I was going to say, because he's on the podcast this week.
Oh, really?
Ali Sultan.
Well, you'll have fun. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's the best.
I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine. He's Pakistani. We were talking about our dads and just some of the similar idiosyncrasies they have and just like a lot of the same tics that they have. And then we eventually we both reached the same point individually. We're like, but if my dad had me 4 years ago at this point, like when he was like 26, I believe. And I'm like, I would have made way more mistakes, like.
Exactly. And that's the thing that we don't think about, right?
No,
like, what? They were 27 or 30?
Yeah, doing monumental things like moving across the planet.
Yeah.
And putting the roots down in a country they didn't know anyone in and doing all these things for me. Of course he was not really a perfect whatever growing up, or he was distracted and not really around,
Of course he was an alcoholic, a drug addict, and never home, and cheated on my mother constantly.
I would have done way cooler stuff if I was 27. I feel like I was like, we both were like,
of course he was incarcerated for 20 years for tax fraud and embezzlement. But
he was 26.
He was trying. But it's so funny because I always grew up with my dad being like, rent an apartment you can't afford because it'll push you to work harder.
Wow.
Like
that's wild.
I know, totally wild. Horrible advice.
Yeah. Especially now.
He was 27.
Yeah.
No, but at the same time, also you think, I just read Fahrenheit 451 for the first time. And in the back, there's like a little interview with Ray Bradbury, and he says that he wrote the book in a library where he had to rent a typewriter for 10 cents per half hour, right?
Wow.
So he was broke and he had kids and he had to put food on the table.
Right.
So he wrote this novel in like 9 days because he just had to go so fast because it was 10 cents per half hour.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't know
wild.
that.
It's so wild. And I think he said he had to write like 2 new stories a week. Back then you would publish these stories in these like sci-fi magazines and stuff like that, right? Or like pulp magazines or whatever. And so I think, of course, there is something about the necessity, right? Yep. And something that teaches you, and then that's passed on. With immigrants, I think this feeling of the necessity and the feeling that you have to make it work and that you have to make good on what your parents sacrificed kind of is in your bones.
Absolutely.
After that,
And you see, like, I have, American friends, and they like listen to Gary Vaynerchuk or like these like entrepreneur podcasts.
Right.
And they look at like motivational memes and stuff. And I'm like, you need that? My mom is looming right here spiritually. I don't need an entrepreneur podcast to motivate me to go chase my goals.
I love that. That's so funny.
My parents are like right here.
At a picture of my parents every morning. I go,
and they're scowling at me, and I go, okay, let me go do an open mic or something. Let me do something.
I wrote 5 self-help books just looking at my parents' picture.
I had a voicemail from my mom, and I freaked out and wrote a full book. Yeah, I think that like that is like a spiritual level of 10 cents an hour, where
exactly
you just kind of feel the weight of that, and hopefully it pushes you in a positive direction. And you don't like burn out or anything.
And not into a fentanyl hole, you mean?
A fentanyl hole. Yeah. And even now, like recently, I've had to unlearn a lot of like my parents, like, growing up, like they were like, depression is a scam.
Right, of course.
Like,
they all say that.
Yeah, there's no such thing as burnout. Like all that stuff that we kind of are learning now is real.
Yes.
I grew up being like, you're just a pussy.
Yeah, of course.
And so I have to unlearn that now and be like, don't be hard on yourself if, you just...
Being not hard on yourself is such a like anti-immigrant.
I know,
thing.
really, because I am now afforded
self-care.
I am now afforded self-care. My parents were not really afforded the luxury of being like, let me take a day.
No, but also that's the thing. They didn't have time for that, right?
Yeah.
Like the world was different. Yeah,
the world was different. The stigmata was there for that stuff, and also there was literally financially a constraint that you didn't really allow you to smoke a joint and get in the tub.
Exactly. And even I think it's so interesting always because my parents are so, they're artists. And so you would expect the people that like kind of where your emotions and thoughts and feelings are a lot of your tools and currency in what you do. But even my dad, he's like, no, the answer to everything is working. You work.
Yeah.
And that gets you through whatever problems you have, whatever depression or whatever.
Right.
My mom's parents were both, my mom's dad was a neuropsychiatrist and my mom's mom was a psychologist. And my mom also is like, therapy sucks.
That's so funny.
What?
I guess if you move somewhere, you just kind of changes your brain chemistry into being like one of those David Goggins guys.
But I think it's also the generation. I think also because they lived through so much immediate trauma.
Right.
Like we have so much time to reflect, right?
Right.
If you're going through some horrible shit politically, you don't have the time, right?
No.
The thing we're about to enter.
Yep. Now we're not about to have time. This is a great reprieve.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like my mom went to prison in East Germany.
Really?
She was a political prisoner. And I was like, Mom, do you think that did anything to you? And she's like, no.
Yeah, it's like certainly it did.
And then I asked her, I was like, you never told me like the details. What was it like? Like what memories do you have? She's like, well, I remember that once a week we were allowed to go into this like shaft and it had these like grates on top that were open to the sky and then a guard would be pacing back and forth on the grates and that was like our outside time.
Oh my God.
And I was like, Mom, you definitely have PTSD. What the? She's like, I don't have PTSD.
And now, we used to go to this place. You'd be kind of enclosed. And now if I'm at the subway station, I'm just clutching my knife in my purse, ready for fighting. That's so funny.
Mom, what?
I know, my mom will say crazy shit. Like, literally the last time I was home, I got up to get breakfast with her, and we were just sitting at the dining table, and she was like, yeah, Shaunak, you ever wake up and feel like, this is all nothing and nothing's going to ever get better. And, that everything's just kind of all for nothing. And I go, yeah, Mom, you're depressed. It's going to be okay. And she's like, I'm not depressed. I was like, definition of what that is what you're describing. You sound like Tony Soprano right now. You're like a caricature of a depressed lady.
Oh my God.
She's like, I'm not depressed. It's not what that is. And I was like, yeah, it is fun. And the cool thing is we have tools for that now. And she's like, no, we don't. And that's not depression.
Yeah, she's like, it's indigestion.
I just need a few raisins, Shaunak. If I have a dried plum, I'll be fine. Quit being weird.
So what is going to happen?
With the whole thing?
The whole thing, yeah. What do you think is going to happen?
I don't know.
You think they're going to do mass deportations? And are you are in a situation with your immigration status that's like could be a little bit nerve-wracking.
Yeah, and I think, the way he talks, I feel like everyone might be
exactly
in a vulnerable situation.
And I had the president of the New York Immigration Coalition on, and I was like, what do you think? And he's like, well, I think they're coming for all of us. All of us.
Wow.
All of us immigrants.
Really not good.
That's really not good. Yeah.
He's in charge of the coalition? What does that mean?
I'm sorry. Your face. Well, it's an act. It's like an umbrella group for activists.
I see.
For organizations that are active in immigration.
What can we do though? I don't know what to do. Like fight it in court, I guess, if they actually try to.
But how do you feel? Do you feel scared?
Certainly. Yeah. I'm terrified. And, our situation in our immigration has always been, fraught with tension.
Yeah.
We've had moments of stability in the last 20-something years, but it's never felt like, okay, we've done it. We're still looking for a green card and all that. And I think the weird thing is like, we're scared. I'm especially scared now, but I don't know what to do. And my family has this conversation all the time where we're like, what are we here to do? We're just here to live regular. We're just regular people. Yeah. We're not in MS-13 or
no, of course,
ISIS or something. Like we just really like hanging out. We're just chillers. Yeah. And it just kind of is. Now I'm to the point where I'm like, this is just confusing and scary, and I truly have no idea what's going to happen. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there was like this part of me yesterday that was like, wouldn't it be so funny if it's like the best ever? And he just like doesn't do any of it. He's just like so good. The economy becomes amazing.
Yeah, and he's just doing it to get elected.
And that's definitely not going to happen. And I think that it's going to be bad. I feel like there's part of me that thinks he has to make good on his promises for his base.
Sure.
At the same time, in terms of the like mass deportations, I think that there's an aspect of it that's really unrealistic. First of all, because it's super expensive, and secondly, because
it would devastate the economy.
Exactly, how it would devastate the economy and how much tax dollars would be lost, right?
And it would be like $1 trillion investment trying to kick people out. Like you'd have to bolster ICE and all of you'd have to mobilize so many like bureaucratic entities to actually deport millions of people, and the ripple effect of that would affect like our manufacturing, our farming, our restaurants, our construction, our software, like literally everything would be affected. And it would be such a weird, it would be like a completely failed experiment.
Yes. But then again, at the same time, as a German Jew whose grandfather like was told overnight you have to leave because you're on a list, I feel like the reason why so many Jews stayed and died was because they couldn't fathom that what the Nazis were saying they were going to do would actually happen, and there's so many stories of also like Jews staying in the ghettos, even though they're like, they're going to pick you up and put you on a train tomorrow. And people be like, that they're not doing that. They've been nice to us. Like, yeah, we're in a ghetto. We have to be home by 6, but they haven't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's an aspect of that part of me that's like, okay, maybe we have to start like being able to fathom like unfathomable things. But I feel that even, we don't know anything. And I think that's the worst thing. I think it's such a it's so damaging to just the fact that people are scared.
Yeah.
It's so horrible and so disgusting that
Yeah.
your family who are just chillers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
all these like good people that are here contributing and living their life are scared now and exactly not only that, but the people that actually make this country run more or less, you
Yeah.
know, and that this country is built on immigration.
Absolutely.
So it's definitely depressing.
It's also just, it sucks that any sort of change like this is happening out of fear,
Right.
of an unfounded fear that people are coming here to pillage you and stuff, where I think that people a lot of times voting for that policy who have that fear don't interact with immigrants ever. And if in any interaction they do have with immigrants in small town America, is immigrants helping you deliver your packages and cook your food and pick your
Exactly.
produce.
Yeah.
So it's so funny that like there's a guy in Missouri voting for Trump because he hates the fact that immigrants are going to come kill him, when for decades he's existed off of the labor of immigrants.
Exactly.
And the kindness of immigrants.
Exactly.
And nothing's happened to him.
Right.
And it's the corporations closing down their branches, which is why he's feeling the economic hurt.
Exactly.
Mexican people are not coming to take your job.
No, exactly. But it's the same thing as, most people in jail for dealing drugs are black and most people who consume drugs are white, right?
Yeah.
So it's that thing.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that the sad thing is that for sure, for me, the election shows that people don't want the status quo.
Yeah.
Which I agree with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is that
They're putting their trust in a group of people that don't have their best interest at heart.
not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. And that actually, I mean, if they do all the things that he says he wants to do, like the tariffs and all that crazy shit and closing the education department, like
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
That's going to be devastating
It's
for
gonna
this
be
country.
bad,
This
yeah.
country's just going to like
Deteriorate.
even more.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I still, the weird thing is, nobody likes America more than immigrants. I have like
Yes.
a great fondness
Exactly.
for here
Exactly.
and a great belief in what this place could be. And the frustrating thing is talking to my liberal white friends that are like, I'm moving, this sucks, fuck this. And I'm like, okay, I will tell you that the people that are most affected by this, immigrants, have the most invested in making this place worthwhile and seeing America, the experiment, to fruition. And without us, it would be for nothing. Like even the booming industries right now, the tech sector of America, the things that we can tout as genuinely American are built on Asian immigrants coming here and figuring that stuff out. And any sort of innovation we can tout as Americans is truly not liberal white people making it work.
Yes.
And it sucks that the working class betrayed itself because they didn't have any sort of viable candidate in office or running, and Trump was just charismatic enough to win their vote. It's just crazy. I don't think anyone likes this place more than the people that come here out of and sacrifice a great deal to be here.
Exactly. And that's such a good point, because also most people don't want to leave their home.
No.
Right? Most people leave because of political reasons or because there's no opportunities.
Right.
And so they come here
Yeah.
with so much hope.
Yeah.
And they build things.
Yeah.
And they want to contribute and they want to be Americans.
Yeah.
And even for me, when I finally got my American citizenship like
Nice.
3 years ago, and even for me, I was like
Proud,
man.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. I know that everybody's like, this country sucks and stuff like that, but I was proud,
Totally, man.
And it is a thing where you're like, yeah, this is, and of course it's like this like marketing gag of this country to have like been, have built itself as the
Sure.
beacon of hope and freedom, and you can say all those things, but in that sense, I agree with my sister that a lot of people, and what you're saying about liberal white people that are like, oh yeah, freedom my ass, and it's like, but but hold on a second. Have you been to other places?
Yeah.
Because it
is dire in a lot of places.
There's a lot of places where it's less free.
Yeah.
And yes, it's super racist here, and it's a really fucked up country, and it's disgusting what they've done, their foreign policy, and how many countries they've destroyed, and how much stuff they've robbed from people, and everything is so disgusting, you know? But at the same time, it's like, hold on a second. Like, you can't be like, oh yeah, free my ass. What?
Yeah, it doesn't, that is a kind of an unfounded thing, because there are a lot of people, like, I think if you are a liberal white person that is upset about the situation, you owe it to the people that are coming here with a lot of hope in their heart to figure it out and not just throw in the towel, because there's a lot of people that don't have any political agency that are now dependent on you to figure it out. Just like when black people asked people to march and put their bodies on the line, they could not, because they were directly under fire. In a similar sense, if it is going to get dire, we can't have people that have immunity in this country throwing the towel in and giving up, because I think there's a lot of people here that have moved here with tremendous hope in their heart and pride for America that will be the first to be affected by any sort of deportation policy. Right. So I don't know. I think that...
Right, and that's such a good point. No, sorry, go ahead.
I like America, and it sucks what's happening, but I would like to stay and figure it out.
Yes. No, and I agree. I mean, I like America too, and I feel like now you saying that, you know, this like sense of like make America great again, which is mostly disgruntled and, well, not only disgruntled, that's kind of a wrong word, but a lot of white people in the lower class who've been neglected.
Of course.
You know?
I absolutely feel for their pain too. They've been cast aside by the ruling class.
Exactly. And so they sit there and they think, oh, it's because of these other people that come here
China
and they get
Mexico.
Handouts, which is not even true.
Bro. No.
It's not true. And so they're like, but this is my country. Yeah. And they're I thought like the slogan, make America great again. I was like, why can't somebody be like, stop saying that? You're saying this country's not great?
Yeah.
All these people think this country's great.
Yeah.
So who are you talking about?
That's
who
so
thinks
true.
this country's not great? Like, what the fuck? Nobody said that ever to him.
Yeah, and you know, I think that there's a few people. I'm certain there's a sizable percentage of his voting group that is actually racist and wishes it was 1950, where people were actually segregated. I'm certain there's a great deal of people that do think that.
For sure.
I do think that a majority of his base is people that kind of miss the 80s and 90s, where we still were manufacturing things in America.
Right.
And there was a lot of there were a lot of jobs available, and the economy wasn't as affected by certain things. I'm not an economist. I couldn't really get into it. But I imagine they're missing a time where things were still here, and they're blaming other people. They're blaming the wrong people for it. You need to look up, not around.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's funny because now a lot of the white people are saying that it's the fault of Latino men, voting for him.
Sure.
Which I think is so funny too, because like, oh, now you found another way to blame not you guys. Okay, so now again it's the fucking minorities or whatever whose fault it is.
The minorities' fault that the jobs are gone and that Trump is in office.
Exactly. Like, oh yeah, it's some Latino men. Yeah, but the thing is that for sure, I think it's also a brainwashing of this like fetishizing of being rich, becoming rich.
Yeah.
And that people identify more with rich people even when they're poor,
of course,
than with other poor people, because they identify with the possibility of them being rich one day. Of
course. And that's where you see a lot of immigrants going, I crossed the border and now it should close behind me.
Exactly.
And because they come here with an idea of, it's the same thing. They have such a lauded like image of America, and they go, I want to be American and I want to drink Coca-Cola and watch Michael Jordan,
Yeah.
So they have this image of being American, and part of that is moving up the class ranges.
Exactly.
And a part of that you can't ignore is, and nobody else should get to do it. Because when you have a capitalistic mindset, you are competing with the rest of the people you just immigrated with.
And also to move up, there has to be someone below you.
Yeah, moving down or that you can step on to get over there.
Damn, what? Look at us. I didn't go to college. You got arrested in college. And we figured this out.
The denominators exist everywhere, you know.
Yeah. No, it does feel so clear, and it does feel even more sad because of that the Democrats really fucked this up.
Yeah. Because the Democrats didn't address any of the working classes issues.
They didn't address the working classes issues, and also I feel like the people didn't trust them because there was no primaries.
Yeah.
The person that ended up being the candidate had 3 months, and she wasn't elected to be the candidate. So people kind of felt like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Then there's
genocide kept continuing under their thumb.
But also the Democrats did a really bad job of not being like, okay, by the way, Trump is not gonna
make this better.
Right. And also they didn't take a clear stance on it. It's true. They just ignored people in that way, and they ignored the working class people. And somebody said something that I thought was really interesting. They were like, the Democrats treated the Latino vote as like an ethnic group.
Yeah.
And the Republicans treated them as just working class, right? And so they didn't like separate them out,
right,
and kind of mystify them in this way that the Democrats
and also
did.
I think the Democrats in Biden's last term and in this current run Kamala had, there were several like clips that you see where they took the minority vote for granted, where they're like, and if you're black and you're not voting for me, you're a dumbass.
Exactly.
And then people were like patronized and were like, what the hell? You can't just talk to me like I'm a group. I'm an individual with certain needs.
And my 19-year-old godson said something so good. He was like, the Democrats gave Democratic voters reasons to stay home, and the Republicans mobilized. And I feel like that's
what a smart godson.
I know. I was like, damn, Jimmy. And he lives in Berlin. He was so cute. He called me yesterday. I was like, he never calls. He's like a teenager, like a teenage boy. And he was like, I was like, you want to know what the mood in the apocalypse is like? You know what I mean? He's like, I called my auntie in New York and I have the scoop. But he said that, and I was like, that's so
true.
smart.
I feel like there's
and it's so
reality
true.
in that. Yeah.
It's so true. I really do. And it feels like now everybody's like, oh, this is a reckoning for the Democratic Party. But what blew my mind, the Murad Awade, the head of the Immigration Coalition, he told me about this debate between George Bush Sr. and Ronald Reagan in the 80s. And they're asked a question about immigration. And I put the clip into the episode because the way they react to that question is how you would expect like Bernie Sanders to talk about immigration. They're like, they're good people. There needs to be a path to citizenship. Like, we need to, absorb them into the labor force. They're our neighbors. Of course, they have a right to education. You're like, oh my God, these are like the biggest Republican dinosaurs ever. George Bush and fucking Ronald Reagan.
Wow.
And so you see how much to the center right the Democrats moved since then, and how far right the Republicans moved, right?
Wow.
And it's sad.
I don't know what causes that other than fear. And I think we live in times that are completely new to the human brain and so far removed from our ancestral day to day.
Yeah.
And I think there's a new fear for everything. And people are just kind of walking around scared. And maybe that's why things have moved right.
I think that's why, but also I feel like this late stage capitalism
is too much.
It's like I feel like the system is eating itself.
Yeah.
It can't work this way anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it cannot be that 1% of the people have more wealth than 90%.
It's like capitalism where like the base, like if you're building a building and the foundation is now corroded.
Yes.
The people on the 50th floor are richer than God, but the thing that you've built capitalism on is no longer functioning. Like the working class is no longer happy, and they're eating each other.
Yes.
And the people in the mailroom are furious.
Right, and they're looking for
each
someone
other.
to blame,
Yeah.
and they're looking and okay, they also said, like most of the educated or like college educated people mostly voted for Kamala Harris, and then like the people who didn't go to college for Donald Trump. And I'm not saying they're stupid, but you're stupid. No, no, but it also people also lack the education. I guess a lot of times to understand the nuance or all the like moving parts.
Yeah. And I also think what college does is it puts you around people that aren't you.
Right. That's so true. Yeah.
And I
that's
think
so
that
true.
a lot of times people go to college and they're from rural Indiana and they've grown up Republican. They probably believe all this stuff because generationally they've been told X, Y, and Z, and
Right.
they might be racist. And then they go to school and their dorm mate is like a Mexican guy and they're best friends. And he goes,
And then it turns out he's not even Mexican. He's Indian.
yeah, no, it's me.
He's like, my roommate is Mexican. He's like, I am Indian. Oh my God.
Well, I think y'all are great, man. And
I really changed my mind about Mexicans.
Guy with a turban.
This Patel, who I live with from Mexico, and he's just
Oh,
fine.
guys, fantastic.
Spanish sounds weird when he speaks it, but
Spanish is so different than the
I
other
didn't know they
Spanish.
ate curry down there. I love him. Great guy.
Great guy.
What a guy. Speaking of what a guy, I could talk to you for millennia.
Yeah, wow. Truly,
you
this
know?
is very needed, I think.
But we must
Wrap
take
this up.
our little immigrant butts to the finish line. But before we do, we must play a little game.
Cool.
I call the poll questionnaire.
Cool.
Shauna Godkhindi. By way of India, by way of Kuwait, by way of Chicago, by way of Atlanta, by way of NYC, and the pigeons playing in puddles in the sunshine in November. Are you ready to embark on the journey we call the poll questionnaire?
Yeah, what is this? Sure. I'm excited.
Now you must take your clothes off and scream.
Whoa, cool.
If you were president of the United States of America,
Okay.
what American food would you ban?
Ooh. I think anything that involved like cottage cheese and raisins and stuff.
Whoa. Cottage cheese?
No. These things, they separately, they're fine, but every once in a while you'll see like, this is a Wisconsin summer delicacy. And it'll be like Granny Smith apples and raisins and chicken with cottage cheese. You know what I'm talking about? These
Yes.
weird fringe
It's
Midwestern.
like shepherd's pie.
Yeah,
What the fuck is that?
Shepherd's pie, yeah, it's I don't know what it is. I don't know.
Gross.
But anything that like any sort of wet globular food that has a white base, like a mayonnaise or a cottage cheese base, freaks me out. Chicken salad's the furthest I can go, and anything more freaky than that, I can't.
I love that.
That would be banned.
Okay,
You'd have to
definitely
eat
the
that
most
in an
specifically
alley.
strange answer I've ever gotten, but I love that.
What do people usually say? That's right.
Like nachos.
What?
Or hot dogs. A lot
No!
of people say hot dogs.
No, we're keeping
Yeah.
hot dogs.
One
We're-
guy said bagels. He's dead now.
Yeah, well, that's a person that is.
He
has a
never
concussion.
lived to see the next day. Okay.
Okay.
Well, if you could deport one American person, who would you deport?
Oh my God! Wow, what a great question. There was this lady after a show recently who was really drunk and her breath was terrible, and she came up to me and she was like yanking on my shirt. She was like, "You only have one good joke.
Oh my God.
You only have one good joke." And it was this one, and I didn't have a great set. It was for like all old people.
Oh.
The show in Connecticut.
Oh no.
And it was fine. I was okay with it. I mean, I had my fun. And then she just made me feel especially worse about it. So I think her name is Kathy something. If I could, I would kick her out to a country I would send her to like rural China where she has no
Nice.
recourse of how to make her way
Nice.
around.
But also, can I say, you're short.
Yeah.
And I'm short.
Yeah.
And being short, people don't know this.
Oh, people just say anything they want.
No, that's not it. But that's probably it too. You have to deal with a lot of breath bad breath.
Yeah.
We smell everybody's breath.
Yes.
Because if you're higher or sort of on the same level, you don't smell it. But people talk down and their breath is shooting down onto your face.
Yep.
Oh my God. You know how
And I think
many...
people that have bad breath, it's heavier.
Yes.
Like sinks.
Yes. I remember, I have so many memories of being like, I cannot be here for another second because your breath is coming down and I'm engulfed.
100%. That's why, like, when everyone was masking up, I remember my wife and I were both short, and we were just like, it's kind of nice. Can't really smell anyone's breath.
Yes.
And close talkers are a big problem when you're short.
Yes.
Because if they
Close
talk to
talkers,
you,
huge problem.
They talk like this. And it's just on you.
Yeah, there's so much about being short that's never talked about.
Yeah.
Tall privilege is real.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It needs to stop.
Especially in a social setting.
Yes, supermarkets. What the fuck is that? You know how many things I can't reach?
I know.
Are you kidding me right now?
I can stand on my tippy
Who's
toes
that for?
like a dork.
Not even my tippy toes.
There's so many cereal brands I've just never eaten.
You've never
'cause
eaten them.
They're up there. One day I'll try Crave. Rice-A-Roni. I wish I could try it. The top shelf for the talls to eat.
The amount of times I've thrown my coat into a corner in a public bathroom because I couldn't fucking reach the hanger.
Guess I'll just wear it while I poo.
Okay.
Poll questions.
If you had to come up with a catchphrase for the United States of America, what would it be?
Let's hang out. Yeah, let's hang out.
Okay, great.
That's the best part of this country is
hanging out,
hanging out,
tailgating.
Yeah, tailgating.
So American.
Such a big fan of tailgating.
Still don't know what it is exactly.
Oh, dude, I'm
sitting
from the
in the
South.
back
You
of
gotta
your pickup
come.
truck.
Well, tailgating is when you get drunk before a game.
Oh.
We have a pickup truck is ideal for it, but
I thought it was just you could just sitting in the back of your truck means you're tailgating.
technically, but tailgating as a event is usually before. I went to UGA, a big SEC college football school. You should go to the South and go to a SEC football game. You'll tailgate, and you just have insane. Everyone's just. That's the most community you feel in the South.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. It's beautiful.
Wow.
Let's hang out.
I didn't know. All right, let's hang out. Okay, 2 more questions.
Yeah.
If you could add an amendment to the U.S. Constitution, what would you add?
Your Uber rating has to be publicly displayed. How you treat those guys when you get into an Uber should be publicly displayed.
So good. You know, I'm so nice always.
5.0?
I don't have a 4.9.
Really?
I don't get it. I never did. No, I don't get it.
This would be a
Deal breaker.
badge for you to wear everywhere.
I can't believe it. I always go, hi, how are you?
They're like, shut up. Just the tremor of your voice. Oh, God.
I dated this Scottish guy for a while, and he came to visit New York, and we were in an Uber, and I wanted to die. And it was like a brown driver.
Yeah.
And as we're getting out, he goes, thank you so much. Salam alaikum. And the guy was like, I'm Indian. And I was like, oh my God, shut the fuck up.
Honestly, you're having a fucked up guest will ruin your rating.
I think that's what ruined
Because
my
I've
rating.
gotten in
that
with
guy.
like, my drunk asshole friends, and I'm like, guys, you're gonna fuck up
You
my
gotta
numbers.
take your own Uber.
Yeah, seriously.
I can't have
Or I'll go out of my way to be like, hi, I'm the guy in the picture. I'm nice. Yeah, so I think that would be my rule.
Salam alaikum.
You'd have to put that on your. It'd
Okay.
have to be on your LinkedIn. It'd have to be on your person.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question, very serious.
Uh-huh.
Shaunak, do you know how I can meet David Hasselhoff?
Wow. In terms of like connections, if I know how to.
Or any ideas? I mean,
He was in the SpongeBob movie.
yes, correct.
Perhaps you get in touch with SpongeBob's agent. And
Oh, Tom Kenny. I know Tom Kenny.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Because you're a voice actor.
Yes, yes.
You know Tom Kenny?
I do,
This
yeah.
should have been the whole episode. What the fuck, really?
Yes. Yes, I know Tom Kenny.
Y'all are like friends?
We know each other. He directed me on, I did the Megamind people. Do you know the Megamind movie? They have a series, and I played an evil German cockroach. He directed me, and we've seen each other at a lot of Comic-Cons and stuff. Yeah, we know each other.
Then why do you lead with that? That's
You love
crazy.
Tom Kenny?
I love that. SpongeBob is my favorite thing in the world.
Yes, now I love you even more than I already did.
Wow,
Yeah.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, you're right. Oh my God.
Yeah, you should hit him up. What are you doing?
Wow. I'm actually going to meet David. This is the best answer I've ever gotten. Everybody's like, write him on Instagram.
No,
wait for him
you know
in
Tom
Malibu.
Kenny.
Tom Kenny. I totally didn't think about that.
I didn't even know about this. I watched the SpongeBob movie when I was a kid, and I was like, that guy's funny. And the adults were laughing at the Hasselhoff stuff.
Yeah.
And only years later did I find out who he was. I was just like, funny hairy guy on SpongeBob.
That's I'll never forget when I learned English and I understood that Cruella de Vil was Cruel Devil.
Yeah.
It was like my mind exploded.
That's like, when you find out like Christopher Nolan slipped in a detail. That when I was a kid, I was like, what an Easter egg! And people are like, no, that's just French, I think.
I love that. Okay, well, Shaunak, where can people find you online?
SHAUNAKG, Shaunak G on Instagram. Lots of stand-up, lots of sketch, lots of fun stuff.
And you're touring. You're always going around the country a little bit. Yes,
I'm out and about. I'm in the new year. I'll be out around the Northeast, the Midwest, the South, doing some shows, doing some stuff.
Great.
And but if you live in New York, I'm doing shows all the time here.
Come and see him if you live in New York. And if you don't, what are you doing with your life?
Come hang out.
Come hang out. Slip into his DM. Slip? Did I say slip?
Slip and fall into my DMs.
Slip and slide into his DMs. Tell him about SpongeBob. Tell him about the weird cottage cheese dessert that you had in Wisconsin that wasn't a dessert because it also had chicken in it and raisins. Disgusting. Love him, like him, follow him, see everything he does. He's the funniest, nicest, as you now know, having listened to this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Please, please, please check out the Patreon, patreon.com/LucyPohl. Thank you to our patrons. We love you so much. You know who you are. You are the best. Don't give up hope. Love yourself. Love your neighbors. Love your community. Be nice to each other. We got this, baby. And thank you so much to Dylan, producer extraordinaire. And thank you so much to Shauna Godkhindi.
Thank you, Lizzie.
Thank you. We love you. Goodbye.